Hi, my name is Nick Broughton and I am a Randomfish. Hit that subscribe button and let's all be random fishes together, shall we? So, I've been thinking about what I want to do next, and in complete honesty, I was watching another YouTube video. It was a reaction video. That I totally wasn't just watching just 2 seconds before making this video. This reaction video was to Tenacious D's Kickapoo, the song that kicked off the movie The Pick of Destiny. And in complete honesty, it made me think about Tenacious D a lot. In fact, it made me rethink back to when I first started listening to them. Now, bear in mind, I was not raised with the idea of wanting to listen to Tenacious D because, honestly, I hadn't seen that much or any of Jack Black. I didn't know him, I did not know of Kyle Gass, I hadn't had access to HBO, so I wouldn't have had access to the episodes of the old show. But the fact is that no matter what destination you take it, no matter what direction you go in, at this point in the game, Tenacious D was and still is, for a lot of people, an amazing band. And honestly, for me, it's become that. I first started listening to them back in the early 2000s, around the time that I first watched School of Rock. When I had finished watching that, and I then watched the Diary of Jack Black feature on the DVD, I immediately fell in love with him and Kyle. I thought these guys were brilliant, I thought they were funny, and honestly, I couldn't wait to hear what they would do. A couple of friends of mine got me to listen to Wonder Boy and eventually Tribute, and although I wouldn't listen to their first album properly until college, and I wouldn't really watch the HBO episodes until college either, but once I did, I thoroughly enjoyed them. And when I found out about the movie coming out, I went nuts for it. I decided, this is what I want. I wanted to find the Tenacious D movie, and I wanted to watch it. This is not because just because I was a late fan. To me at least, it doesn't mean that I'm any less of a fan than someone who has been a fan of them since the 90s. Or to that kind of arena. And in complete honesty, their first album wasn't released until 2001, which is still amazing to me. But, to be honest, that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm not just here to talk about the D, I'm here to talk about their movie, Pick of Destiny. I listened to the album first, I'm not going to lie, and then I watched the movie. Because to me, Tenacious D has always been about the music. The band has always been about the songs, the comedy they can bring to it through those songs. The movie, it sounded like a cool idea, but at the same time I wasn't going to 100% rely on the movie to be as funny. I thought maybe they had other people writing it with them just as much as they were writing the songs, and I thought, if it's not going to be as funny as the songs, I don't know if I should be disappointed or if I should just not watch it at all and save myself the issue. Eventually I did watch it though. While I didn't get a chance to watch it in cinemas, I did watch it on DVD. And I still own a copy of it today. And, my God, it was amazing. There's some great stuff in there. There's great characters, there's great music, there's great comedy. It's the salute to Tenacious D that we always wanted. So the movie kicks off with a young Jack Black in his home, or a young Jables in this case, JB and Cage. Because let's face it, they do play characters in the band. They're not just themselves in this band, they are playing characters. They are exaggerated parts of their personality. Jack Black has said in the making of documentary behind this movie, he said that he liked to think that he was smarter than the character that he plays in Tenacious D. Which, honestly, I think is a great thing. And I love the idea of that sort of thing happening. But Jack Black or the JB character, in his home when he was younger, plays a song that he wrote to his family while they're praying before dinner. His family are clearly deeply Christian. His father is Meatloaf in this, which I have to say is a very weird thing. I always kind of liked the idea of Meatloaf being Jack Black's dad, and in my heart of hearts I always thought to myself, well, Meatloaf is Jack Black's dad, I can understand that, but Meatloaf is a Christian? Not sure how I feel about that, if I'm going to be absolutely honest. And this is not a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination, but it is very much a thing. And young Jack Black is played by a slightly younger version of Barry from the Goldbergs, Troy Gentile, as I believe his name is. And he's brilliant. He really does capture the essence and the energy of a young Jack, which is great. Young JB is then punished by his dad for singing the song in front of them while they were praying, because of a number of reasons, but I'm guessing the foremost one being that he sings about rock, the fact that he swears a lot in the song itself, and just in general his very appearance, I guess, would have angered Meatloaf. I mean, I'll be honest, if I was a deeply religious Christian father who had raised his entire family to be deeply Christian and they had to stick to that schedule, and my other child was actively going against this, seemingly rubbing my face in it, I still wouldn't beat him, but I'd at least have questions. But I'm guessing the Meatloaf character, JB's father, beats him with his belt, and then basically tells him that he was a mistake, that his brother is more loved than he is, and that he should give up on everything, and then leaves. JB then, under the influence of Dio, the one poster that his father hadn't torn down during the song, tells him to run away to Hollywood to embrace his destiny as a rock and roll artist. So Jack leaves. We eventually have him flash forward in time to actually becoming Jack Black, where he then meets KG on the streets, playing and busking for money. He, of course, is enthralled by Cage and by his abilities, though Cage is a little bit of an arrogant so-and-so and doesn't really want Jabel's attention. However, when Cage comes back later on that night and sees Jabel's getting beaten up by discount versions of Clockwork Orange, he then steps in and, well, tries to step in to save him, but at that point the guys have already run away, so he thinks that he tries to pretend that he did scare them off. Which is a very... Yeah, I would do the same thing, frankly speaking. I don't know if I'd ever quite be brave enough to stand up to people that threatening with bats, but I would be very tempted to make them, when they ran away, just go, "That's right, run! Unless you want some more of this!" A lot. He takes in Jables, takes him back to his apartment, or flat, to use the American term, to use the British term, I should say. And he then says to Jables that he would then be willing to train Jables to be a part of his band, the Kyle Gass Project, which I'm sure has no indication to the future of the Kyle Gass Band, which now has 2 albums out on Spotify. Check them out. They're fun. But then you get this reveal that Jables pulls off this wig that Kyle's been wearing. He's supposedly had long hair, and he pulls off the wig to reveal Kyle's normal look, i.e. balding with a bit of hair on the back. And after some comedy, and they discover that they could actually be friends, and all of that sort of thing, it transforms into an HBO episode of the Tenacious D show. I.e. begins with an open mic night, Paul F. Tompkins is there, and they play History, the song History, that you will find on the album, obviously. Paul F. Tompkins then says to him, "You might want to think about writing some new material." They start trying to write new material in what I like to call the best jamming session ever, which frankly has to be watched to be believed. So please, even if you have watched this movie and you're watching this review, go back and watch that scene, because frankly, yes. But it ends with the two of them wondering why the hell certain bands like AC/DC, Van Halen, The Who, why they're so amazing and the D isn't. And Kyle points out that they're all using the same looking guitar pick. So they go to a guitar shop to find out what the hell the pick is. Now the pick, if you noticed, had been photoshopped into all of those pictures, was in fact the Pick of Destiny. Title of the movie. However, what we then get is the Ben Stiller cameo. Ben Stiller with frizzy hair, glasses, and works in a guitar shop. Covered in wristbands, black t-shirt, looking awesome. And then Ben Stiller tells in an incredibly dark and ominous tone the origin story of the Pick of Destiny, which I will not say here because I don't think I can do it justice. At least not in the same way that either Jack Black, Kyle Gass, or Ben Stiller could do. The two of them then, of course, decide to go off and start looking for this pick. And they go to the Rock and Roll History Museum, where it supposedly is, thanks to a tip from Ben Stiller. He does have a character name, I can't see him as the character, I only see him as Ben Stiller. I can't do anything else. On the way there, they muse about how cool it would be to have the pick, which then leads into, in my opinion, the best song in the entire film, Master Exploder. Yes, I said that is the best song. Hell yeah. Yeah. They get to a cafe where they order stuff like, let me get the fried chicken and the steak and the chicken fried steak. That is an actual line in the movie. I'll give you 3 guesses to who said it. We then get of course, the standard thing we get in all Tenacious D setups. At least in the HBO episodes, it was pretty standard. The JB-KG fallout, where KG wants to go to a party to play some music for some hotties, and Jack, of course, wants to continue on the quest to find the pick, especially after he then gets spoken to by another random cameo of some dude who turned up with a crutches and a false leg of some kind, and telling him how to break into the Rock and Roll History Museum by using air ducts, which he draws on a napkin, which is hilarious. But of course they have the falling out because they don't know which way to sort of go for it. Jack wants to continue going for the pick, Kyle wants to go play for the girls. Which leads to, in my opinion, one of the best debates ever possibly put forward to musicians. You're going to have to decide, tits or destiny? And, I mean, we know which one Kyle chooses. Let's face it, he flicks up his shirt and says, tits, and leaves. Jack is, of course, pissed off about the whole thing. He goes off and eats some magic mushrooms, which leads him into the mystical hallucinogenic world where he meets Sasquatch. Yeah, Sasquatch is back in this movie. No, it's brilliant to have Sasquatch back, actually. I have to say, he was missed from the HBO episodes. I really wish he'd been in more, or at least have stuck around and played in the band a bit more throughout the episodes of the HBO show. I do thoroughly enjoy the idea of that, and I thoroughly enjoy the idea of any of it, really. And of course, this all leads into breaking into the Rock and Roll History Museum for Jack. But not until possibly one of the best things, and one of the great things that they put into the trailer, actually, where Jackie's in a tree, and he tries to climb up onto a branch because he thinks he's standing on the back of Sasquatch, at which point he can then reach the Pick of Destiny. As he's doing that, the branch snaps, he falls down, and in the only bit of humour that was really going to be put in there in the movie, he lands straight on his nuts on the tree branch, and produces the line of, "Oh, sweet baby!" and then falls off. Horrible Jack Black impression, I'll tell you now. That wasn't my best. But then we get shot back to Kyle, who of course goes to the party and then realises that without Jack, he's kind of... neither of them are really as good as each other when they're together. They work better as a duo. He always wanted to sort of go at it alone. He wanted to be, you know, the big rock star, and he failed. And with Jack at his side, he's nearly succeeded. And he still wants to try and go for it on his own. And in that moment, you really do get the bromance. And you really do understand how these two guys, you know, how the bromance began, how it survived so many years, and how, for lack of any other better term, how beautiful it really is. Because those two characters really do love each other. And it's not in any kind of romantic way. It's literally in a I love you like a brother mentality. I've had the same thing for only a few people in my life. You know, one of them being someone who I was actually going to try and start a Tenacious D fan band, you know, a tribute band with at one point. Or we were going to make a stage version of the Pick of Destiny film, which was weird, yet still brilliant. The whole thing comes to a crux in the Rock and Roll History Museum, where the two of them do find the pick. Through various things like dodging lasers and turning off lasers by... if you know what the movie, you know what I'm talking about. It's brilliant. There's a track on the original album called Cock Push-Ups, and in this thing they make this comedic postulation that if you lie down flat on the ground, as an exercise, you lie down on your belly flat, and then you let your boner lift you up off the ground. I'm sure you can all be aware of how he switches off the lasers with this. It's so weird! And yet so brilliant. Obviously, they find the pick and they get it. At which point they then run away from the cops, and they get back to the open mic night just in time, where Paul F. Tompkins is of course waiting. The two of them, JB and KG, then have an argument about who should have the pick. Now in the Master Exploder music video, you notice that Jack is wearing the pick around his neck, so he thinks that he should have it because it might enhance his voice or give his voice a supernatural ability. However, for Kyle, he is sitting there going, but I'm the lead guitarist in the band. Surely that means I should have a guitar pick like this. Like, this is a guitar pick. And I'm going to be honest, as much as I love the Jack Black wearing it as a pendant thing, I do kind of agree with Kyle. He should have had access to the pick. I think Jack would have been able to pull off Master Exploder no matter what. I think he had a genius for writing lyrics even in the movie, and honestly, I like this idea that Kyle could have just produced all these amazing riffs and Jack would have just automatically had good lyrics, because I honestly don't think that he would, he wouldn't have had, at least not in their movie. But of course they fight over it and they break the pick, and it's a very sad moment. And then Paul F. Tompkins comes in and gives the weirdest yet most emotionally motivating speech I've ever heard in my time in watching movies. It particularly strikes me when he says lines like this, when he says things like, "Satan's not in a guitar pick, he's inside all of us." Okay. You continue doing that, Paul F. Tompkins. I'm just gonna be over here with... Okay, whatever. But it's still very lovely and very emotional and very, very touching, I have to say. Jack then reveals the pick that he's going to use when he's on stage, which is a pick that we see Kyle use at the beginning of the film, and in his arrogant ass self flicks that pick at Jack in his forehead, And it's revealed that that's the pick that Jack wants to use, because obviously that's the symbol of the friendship. And actually, Liam Lynch, the director, has said that to him, at the very least, the real pick of destiny is that pick. It's not the mystical thing. It's the devil's tooth is what it really is. How they get the devil's tooth is, of course, explained better in the origin story told by Ben Stiller. However, they go in there to kick butt and take names, but Paul F. Tompkins takes the two halves of the pick and walks over into a corner somewhere and then transforms into Dave Grohl, who's playing the devil. Which then, of course, leads into the second best track of the entire soundtrack, Beelzebos, which is kind of the setup for tribute, I guess, where the devil sort of turns up and says that he's gonna, kill them and drag them all to hell. And JB says, well, let's have a rock-off. And they do, and they string together this song that makes absolutely no sense. And they supposedly lose, but the devil goes to strike down Kyle first with his evil magic. At which point we then get Jack jumping in the way with his guitar, shoots the lightning back, hits the devil in the horn, causes him to lose one of his horns, and through this way, and through a mystical spell that's then used, he is then sent back to hell. The movie then ends with them lighting the newly christened Bong of Destiny, i.e. the horn. I mean, I'll be honest, if Tenacious D was if Tenacious D wasn't Tenacious D, I would be very surprised if it hadn't have been turned into a bong. I'll be absolutely honest. I'm sure Seth Rogen was sat there going, hey guys, I could use that for something. Wait, what's my line? Anyway, Seth Rogen jokes aside. I say jokes. I love Seth Rogen. But with the lighting of the Bong of Destiny, they then start to write a new song, trying to figure out what to do next, and also trying to figure out what that song was, or what they did when they played that song that helped them to defeat the devil. Which, of course, as I've said before at the beginning of Beelzebos, in that whole bit of the movie, is very clearly the setup for tribute, and it always will be. Which is fine to me. The film then, of course, ends with the rather beautifully theme song of the movie, the Pick of Destiny song by the D. What to really say about this movie? It's interesting. It's funny. It's unique. And in complete honesty, three things. Number one, I honestly don't think people gave this movie enough credit. Because it really was a great film. And does it stand as a great art house film? No. But it does stand as possibly one of the greatest passion projects you could have ever worked on. Way back before this movie was ever made, Red Hour Films, the people that produced it, were attempting to make their own Tenacious D film, but without the input of Jack and Kyle. And it fell flat on its face. And I can honestly see why. When I say a passion project, and when I talk about directors and writers and people like that, they write films and they make films with their own little motifs involved. And sometimes certain directors can call back to their own stylings. And in a way, that's kind of what this film was. It was the ultimate salute and tribute to Tenacious D's lore. To their hardcore fans, to the people that truly knew what this band was about. Jack Black and Kyle Gass and Liam Lynch all together wrote and made an amazing movie. J.R. Reid, the guy who plays Lee in the film, who also played Lee in the HBO episodes, I should say, was phenomenal in this, and I enjoy seeing him on screen. I also enjoy the fact that he is a part of a band that... a band called Trainwreck, I should say. And his band was also the band that helped back up the D on the album. With the possible exception, I believe, of the drummer. Obviously, the drummer for the movie was Dave Grohl. They had him as an actor. They were friends with him. I assumed they wanted his help as a musician just as much. But of course, the whole band of Trainwreck actually does help when they went on tour to promote the movie as well as to do gigs. So they played as their full backup band. This is covered in the Complete Masterworks 2, a DVD set that I heartily recommend. If any of you have watched Pick of Destiny but have not seen the Complete Masterworks 1 or 2, I implore you to find them, either on Amazon or eBay or wherever you buy your DVDs. Try your best to find it, because those are brilliant. The live show in Complete Masterworks 2 is brilliant. It has a tremendously good story, and one that I honestly... I don't wish them to have made that instead of Pick of Destiny. Because honestly, Pick of Destiny was one that I loved this movie. That leads me into the second, and as well as really the third thing. It's a travesty that nothing more has been done with this. I kind of wish there had been a sequel, but that's kind of what the stage show is. At least to me. Obviously, they're using their old songs as well as songs from the Pick of Destiny soundtrack within the show. But at the same time, the show itself is kind of a continuation of the Pick of Destiny. They could get dragged down to hell, where the devil basically tries to keep them there against their will, and they form a band of people in hell to help them. I think that's genius. I love it. I love that concept entirely. If you haven't seen it, I do apologize, but at the same time, you kind of have to see it to truly embrace its brilliantness. Just telling you the plot doesn't, I don't think, ruin it at all. I think seeing it, even after someone's explained the plot to you, it's still fun, it's still engaging, it's still beautiful to witness. Honestly, that is really... I understand when people say they're not a fan of the D. Not because I don't like the D myself, but because the D are, in and of themselves, an acquired taste. And they always kind of will be. But I will say that for those of us that are fans, those of us that do enjoy this movie, and those of us that enjoy this band, we constantly crave more stuff from these guys. And in complete honesty, I can't wait for the next chapter in the D. I just can't. It's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, they've had 2 albums released since Pick of Destiny, that being Rise of the Phoenix and Apocalypto. Those 2 albums I, again, recommend that you listen to quite frequently because it's amazing. But in complete honesty, I would love it if the D show up in movies again. Maybe not as a feature length of their own, because I don't think Hollywood producers would want to put their backing behind them again, but I don't know, there's a part of me that thought that maybe they could have appeared in Bill and Ted Face the Music. Just a suggestion. Randomfish out. And keep safe, my quarantine random fishers.